One of my viewers asked if I would do a side-by-side comparison of the DeWalt 12-inch and the Kobalt 10-inch sliding miter saws. While this is somewhat of a mismatch, I thought I would honor his request with this in-depth feature-by-feature comparison of these two popular miter saws. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the specifications for the DeWalt. This is model number DWS780. It comes with a 15 amp motor. It runs out at about 3,800 RPMs with no load. It does come with a 12-inch 60-tooth DeWalt carbide blade. Weighs in at 56 pounds. For the miter, you can do 50 degrees left and 60 degrees right. For the bevel, you can do 49 degrees both left and right. The sliding fence supports trowel moldings up to 7.5 inches nested, and base molding up to 6 3/4 inch in the vertical. The back fence will accommodate up to 2-inch by 16-inch dimensional lumber at 90 degrees and 2-inch by 12-inch at 45 degrees. It does come with dust control. The port measures out at about 1 5/8 inch, so it should support most shop vacs. It does come with a wrench that also has a screwdriver head on it, and of course a clamp. There's no laser with this saw. It does come with a 90-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked, and a 3-year limited warranty. This was $599 at the time of the video, and there was a stand that you could get for free with certain retailers, so check for that as well. Let's take a look at the specifications for this miter saw. This happens to be the Kobalt model number 358938. As I shared with you earlier, this is a 10-inch 15 amp. Runs out at about 4,800 RPM. It is a single bevel sliding compound miter saw. Does have a laser, which we're going to look at in a little bit, and it does have some real good miter stops. There are some very good supports on this saw. It does have dust collection. The specifications are showing that it will cut crown molding up against a fence as large as 5 3/4. Base molding, it'll cut up to 3.5 up against the fence. The warranty is 3 years, and at the time of this recording, this retailed for about $179 before discounts and before tax. Let's take a look at the right-hand side of the DeWalt. First of all, you have your on-off switch here, naturally your trigger, and a convenient handle. Down here is your depth control. I'm going to show you more about that in a little bit. Over here is the knob that controls the tension on the support tubing. You can see the bevel control down there. Now this is made out of cast metal. Most of the ones that I've seen in the past or reviewed in the past are made out of plastic. This is your fence, and then your fence control mechanism so you can slide it back and forth. It does come with a wrench, which stores right back there. So you've got the for bolts, and then for your hex head right there. It does have convenient holes. There are 8 all the way around, 4 on each side for bolting it down to your workspace or bolting it into one of those portable stands. Does have a threaded hole here again for additional accessories. There is an accessory that you can buy, which is an extension arm, which fits in right here where the handhold is, that extends your ability to support your workpiece on your DeWalt. On the right-hand side of the DeWalt is the depth control, and that's a combination of this little lever that you pop down here and this little stop that's adjustable by the wing nut that you see right there. So once you flip this down, all you have to do is bring it down, and you can see where it stops right there. So that is the adjustable depth control on the right-hand side of the DeWalt. While we're looking at the right-hand side, let's notice that the power cord comes out of the motor, circles down around here, and then enters into one of the 2 support tubes right there, then goes through the support tube and comes out the back for a form of cord management for this saw. Let's take a look at some of the features found on the Kobalt from this particular view. One of the things that I do like is the additional safety for starting up the saw. There's a thumb button you have to depress before you pull the trigger. So it gives you that extra margin of safety so you don't accidentally fire this off by lifting it up. This is the control for the laser, which I'm going to show you a little bit later on. There are two very good handles that are well balanced for the shape and size of this saw. So there's one here just over the motor and one in the very back. The depth control is right here behind this cord. This cord is just a little bit in the way, so anytime you want to set this, you're going to have to move the power cord out of the way. Onboard storage for your wrench for changing out your blade. It does have a dust control bag, so you can hook up your shop vac to it. I do like this little cowling that sits over the rails so they don't get covered with sawdust. They're less likely to get fouled. And then you do have the control here that locks this rail in place. And then you have this little simple knob right here that you pull back, lift up, or bring it back down, press it into place, and that locks it into place for storage. Let's take a look at the left-hand side of the DeWalt. First of all, it has a typical blade guard on this side, which is easy to maintain and easy to clean. As you come back up here, this is the control that locks it into horizontal position. And there's also this little bracket or locking mechanism that keeps it from sliding back and forth. So this puts you in a good place for storage, along with this knob right here to tighten down the tension on the support tubing. It does come with a 60-tooth 12-inch blade. And on the right-hand side, you can also see the locking mechanism for this part of the fence. Again, the handhold where you can purchase the optional accessory for extensions. And again, the holes for if you want to tie it down to either a stand or a bench. So let's take a look at the other side of the Kobalt miter saw. It does come with a 10-inch 60-tooth blade. Does have a transparent blade guard so you can see what's going on. The control mechanism for the blade guard is easy to see, easy to keep clean. You do have onboard storage of your power cable. Of course, another shot of the dust bag. It does come with a pretty good clamp. This is a higher quality clamp than you'll see on many other miter saws. There's also this wall or this control panel here that when you pull this lever back, you can slide it forward and control it in place to give you a different way of controlling your workpiece. In addition, you do have the extensions, which I'm going to show you more about later on in the video. On the back side, you do have controls here for controlling the angle or bevel of the miter saw. And you do have some stops that are built in and some stops down here. So I'm going to talk more about those in a little bit. Storage and placement are always going to be a consideration anytime you're looking at a power tool like this. So let's look at the dimensions on this. First of all, with the handle all the way up, it peaks out at about 27 inches. So if you're going to put this into a cabinet in a semi-permanent basis, you need to have enough room, 27 inches plus room for your knuckles, okay? In the down and lock position, it's about 18 inches tall. From front to back, without the dust bag on, it comes out right at about 33 inches. And then from left to right, it comes out at about 26 inches. So those are the dimensions on the DeWalt miter saw. Storage is always a consideration for any of the major power tools that you have in your shop. So let's take a look at the footprint for the Kobalt miter saw. With the arm extended all the way up, this is right at about 22.5, almost 23 inches. With the arm extended down and locked into place, it's about 16 inches. The width comes out just shy of 24, as you can see right there. And then the depth, if we look at the depth from front to back, then it's coming out at just about 27 inches. Okay? And of course, if you tilt the angle of the saw to about 45 degrees, you can shave another 2 or 3 inches off the depth of the footprint for this miter saw. Let's take a look at the miter alignment from the factory on the DeWalt. At 90 degrees, it is nearly perfect, and the same thing at 45 degrees. But let's pretend for a moment that for some reason it gets out of alignment. You see this plate here with the increments. there are 4 screws, 2 on the left and then 2 on the right that can be loosened, and then you could adjust this if necessary to compensate for poor miter alignment. But that's the miter alignment on the DeWalt DWS 780. Let's take a look at the blade alignment on the DeWalt. At 90 degrees it is nearly perfect, and at 45 degrees it is about the same. So blade alignment from the factory on the DeWalt is dead on. Let's take a look at the factory settings on the Kobalt miter saw. Setting the table to exactly 0 degrees, it comes out almost perfectly at 90 degrees using my square. And then I used my speed square earlier and checked it at 45 degrees, and it came out almost perfect, 45 degrees. Another factory setting to be concerned with is on a miter saw, is how well it's aligned at 90 and 45 degrees. And as you can see here, it's almost perfectly set at 90 degrees, and I checked it at 45 and found it to be dead on for this Kobalt miter saw. Let's take a look at the bevel control on the DeWalt. This is the tension control knob back here, and as I mentioned earlier, this is made of metal. This knob right here controls whether you can do left bevel or right and left bevel, and I'll show you that a little bit more in a second. You have 2 stops here, one at 22.5, and then you've got another one at 33.86, and naturally you can bring it down to 45. Of course, this bolt is adjustable here in case you need to do some realignment, but all you have to do is bring it down like this. It stops, and then take it back up. Now, as I bring it past 0 degrees, this control allows it to go to the right past 0 degrees. If I take this control off, bring it down past 0, notice it pops into place, and now I can only do left bevel at this point in time. Also, these controls are found on the right hand side as well. So that's the bevel control for the DeWalt. Let's take another look at that fence on the left hand side. If you don't move it out of the way, I'm going to bring this down, and you can see how it interferes with it. It doesn't come all the way down to 45 degrees. So I'm going to tilt this back up, slide this guy back out of the way, and now I can bring this down to a full 45 degrees. So in this saw, you need to be able to move that little fence control device or setting right there. Also on this side, you notice right here, this little control, if I push it in, it'll stop it at 33.9. If I pull it out, it stops it at 45 degrees. Okay? And then you have these little incremental controls or adjustments you can make to ensure that you have an absolute 45 degrees. So that's the bevel control on the Kobalt miter saw. Let's take a look at the miter control on the DeWalt. Is what I shared with you in an earlier segment. This plate right here is adjustable via 2 screws on the left hand side and 2 screws on the right hand side. If this lever's up, then you don't have to depress anything to move the miter gauge to where you want it. Okay? Now, once you lock this down, it locks it into place and it's not going to move. Okay? Pressing down on this little thumb button right here, just move it a little bit, let up, then the very next detent, it's going to pop into place. In this case, the next one was for 15 degrees. At that point, all you have to do is press this and lock it down, and you're good to go. So that is the miter mechanism or miter control on the DeWalt. Let's take a closer look at the miter gauge and controls on the Kobalt miter saw. So I'm going to get in here nice and close. You notice you have all these detents in here that are the most commonly used angles. Then to move things around, all you have to do is pull up on this lever right here, loosen this knob counterclockwise and move it into position. If you're going to be going back and forth and using angles that are not common, then all you have to do is lift up this lever, push this little button in, and then you can slide it to about any position that you want. and it's not going to stop on all these detents as you go. Once you get into place, all you have to do is tighten down this knob, and you're good to go. Another point that I wanted to make on this saw is on all four corners you have holes that are already in place that allow you to bolt this down to your workbench or table or whatever you're using. I always recommend that you do that. So make sure any opportunity you have to bolt it down, you do so. While the DeWalt does not come with a laser, it does come with a very generous LED light, as you can see right there. Okay, and let me bring this down. So as you can see, as you bring this saw down and the blade cover comes back, it does reveal a very, very bright LED light on your work area. Many of the newer miter saws are coming with lasers as a standard feature, and the Kobalt is no exception. Here's the laser right here, and then there's the adjustment ports. This one happened to come directly from the factory, adjusted pretty well. And then up here on the handle, I already have it turned on. There's the control on off. I'm going to come down here and see if I can get you a close-up view of this. So as I bring this down, you can see that the blade comes just to the left of that laser. So it's a very good guide for helping you to adjust your workpiece to exactly where you want it to be. So that's the laser on the Kobalt miter saw. Let's take a look at the noise levels on the DeWalt. Of course, I've already turned on the power back here, so let's take a look. And you notice when I let go of the power, there's some form of stop on the blade as well. But that comes out at just about 92.8, 93 decibels. So when you're looking at this chart, you notice you're just getting into the red. So it's highly recommended to use some form of hearing protection when you're using this power tool. Let's see what the noise levels are on the Kobalt miter saw. So as you can see right there, it's just shy of 100 in terms of its decibels, which is pretty loud. And I think it's important to keep this in mind, because as you look at this chart right here, you're running into the red. So make sure anytime you're using this miter saw, or really any other miter saw, that you're wearing hearing protection. I hope I've been able to provide you with enough insight into the specifications and features of these two miter saws to help you to identify the one that best meets your requirements as well as your budget. I've uploaded a number of other table saw, miter saw, and drill press comparison videos, and have placed their links in the description below. If you found this video of value, please press like. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love to have you as a subscriber. And as always, good luck on your projects. Let's take a look at the bevel control on the DeWalt. No, this is miter control, not bevel control. Miter control, John, miter control. Let's take a look at the other side of the Kobalt miter saw. It does come with a 10-inch 60-tooth blade. Obviously has a blade guard. All the mechanism for the blade guard is easy to see, easy to keep clean. Again, another view of the dust bag. It does have onboard borage. Great, that's good. Let's take a look at the right-hand side of the Ryobi. DeWalt. John, it is DeWalt, not Ryobi, DeWalt. Let's take a look at the other side of the Kobalt miter saw. It does come with a 10-inch, 60-inch blade. Oh, that's great, 60-inch blade.